Hi all, my name is Satesh More. I am a student of Executive MBA class at IPMI International Business School. Through this video, I am going to summarize my learnings of global economy and international business class that is facilitated by Professor Roy Sembel and Professor Dr. Yulita. As an introduction to global economy, we first had a look at GDP of all major economies of the world starting 1st AD till 2017. What we can see is East, mainly India and China, dominated the world economy till 18th century. However, Industrial Revolution 1 and 2 and the colonization gave rise to the Western economic powers. With Industrial Revolution 3 and 4, East is catching up again. Next, we looked at the rise of the new economy called digital disruptions and its three pillars, namely cost reduction, better customer services, transparency, and the competition. The Industrial Revolution 1 and 2 has helped in reducing the transformational costs significantly, whereas the Digital Revolution has helped in reducing the interaction costs significantly. So this has changed the face of the interaction-heavy industries like banking, retail, transportation, giving more choice to its customers, 24-hour services which are just a click away, which are customized to meet the personal requirements, and there are no geographical boundaries. So it is like anytime, anywhere. This has given rise to increased transparency as well as the competition among the businesses to do better and better to make its customers happy. As Professor Joseph Schumpeter, noted economist, said, in the long run, the competition that matters is not about the price and output, but it is about the competition from new commodity, new technology, new source of supply, new type of organization, or new type of business model, which is very much true in case of the digital disruptions that we are seeing nowadays. Next, we learned about the absolute advantage and the comparative advantage. Absolute advantage of a person or nation is it can produce more of something using same amount of resources. Whereas comparative advantage is it can produce something most efficiently given all the products it could potentially produce. Comparative advantage is the key principle in international trade and it forms the basis why the free trade is beneficial to the countries. The theory of comparative advantage shows that even if country enjoys an absolute advantage in production of goods, the trade can still be beneficial to both the trading partners. One of the risks in international business is the fluctuations in the currency exchange rate. So we looked at the factors that affect the exchange rate. The first is the differentials in inflation. The currency of a country with a consistently lower inflation rises compared to the currency of a country with higher inflation. It is due to higher purchasing power with the lower inflation. The second is the differentials in the interest rate. Higher interest rates in a country attracts the foreign investor that increase the demand for the currency. So it rises. Current account deficit is the next parameter. So if country is the net importer of goods and services, it will need to borrow money from other countries that will depreciate its currency. Next is the public debt. So countries with higher debt are less attractive to the investors. The next is the terms of trade. So if export from a country rises, it will help in currency of a country to rise. And the last is the political stability and economic performance. So foreign investors prefer to invest in a country with a stable government and strong economic performance. International businesses have employees coming from different countries and cultures. Cultural diversity brings in different ways of thinking, new knowledge, and various experiences. Understanding culture helps in facilitating the collaboration and cooperation, as well as dispelling the negative stereotypes and the personal biases. Dutch social psychologist Great Hofstede proposed a framework to understand different cultures. It includes power distance, individualism versus collectivism, uncertainty avoidance index, masculinity versus femininity, long-term versus short-term orientation, and the intelligence versus restraint. In order to grow more sustainably and inclusively, that is more likelihood of everyone in the society getting benefited from the economic growth, one need to be competitive. World Economic Forum defines competitiveness as set of institutions, policies, and factors that determine the level of productivity in a country. It measures countries' competitiveness using three sub-indices, namely basic requirements, efficiency enhancers, and innovation and sophistication. The basic requirements includes institutions, infrastructure, macroeconomic environment, and healthcare and primary education. Whereas the efficiency enhancers looks at the efficiency of the goods and labor market, the development of financial market, technological readiness of the country, and the market size. And the innovation indicators include the sophistication of the business and the innovation. Next, we looked at the forces driving globalization. So there are four factors. First is the technology. So developments in technology, especially the transportation and communication, has helped in vast quantities of goods and commodities being shipped across the globe at a lower cost. And 24/7 global communication is made possible with the help of internet, social media, smartphones, and e-commerce with the help of e-payment gateways. Second is the market drivers. So saturation of the domestic market has forced companies to look beyond the domestic markets. Third is the cost drivers, which is the sourcing efficiency and taking advantage of the labor cost difference across the countries. And last one is the political drivers, which is the trade tariffs, capital controls, and the immigration policies adopted by the government. Next, we look at various ways by which a company can enter into the foreign market. So it depends on how much control the company wants and how much risk it is willing to take. So the low cost option is the low cost and low risk option is the exporting. So it is a part of the home replication strategy. There is no new investment needed in the foreign market, and this is the best way to test the new market. However, there are disadvantages such as we cannot get benefited from the popularity of our product in the new market. Also, we need good distributor to get more insight about that market, and we have little or no control once we have exported the product. So it may lead to damage of the brand image. Next level is the licensing or franchisee agreement. So little more control comes with little more risk. And in this case, need to have a good licensee or franchising agreement that covers all basic minimum requirement of a brand. The next level is strategic alliance, where two or more organizations agree to work together without investing in each other. In this case, sometimes there is a risk of losing intellectual property and also a risk of creating a competitor in the process, and one partner may get benefited more compared to others. The next level is a joint venture where the companies agree to come together financially. Okay. In this case, there is a risk of one partner dominating other and also the risk of losing intellectual property. If company want to protect its intellectual property, then best way is the direct investment. The direct investment shows the commitment to the market. However, we need to develop right from the supply chain to the production facilities to the distribution network. So we need to do a lot of research about the market before deciding about the direct investment. Next, we learn about the risks involved while doing the international business. This risk can be broadly classified into four categories: currency risk, country risk, cultural risk, and commercial risk. Currency risk is arising out of fluctuations in the exchange rate of the currency that can impact the profitability of the company. The country risk looks at the various parameters, right from the quality of the infrastructure, economic conditions, political conditions, anti-foreign sentiments among the civilians, workers, and government officials, threat of terrorism, internal conflicts, and the civil unrest. In short, all that things that can make it challenging to do business in that country. Next one is the cultural risk arising out of differences in the customs, habits, languages, lifestyle, and ethical practices, and commercial risk arising out of how strong our partner is in the foreign country, as well as the time and the competitive landscape uh, in that country, and how well the strategy is being executed. Next, we learn about the business strategies. Strategy is nothing but the set of actions that managers take to make best use of firm's resources and core competencies to gain competitive advantage. Firms working in global environment face two kind of pressures. One is cost reduction, and other is being more locally responsible. When we talk about the cost reduction, the focus is on minimizing the unit cost of production. So here, economy of scale and location comes into picture. So it is about the mass production of standardized product at optimal location. This is particularly evident for products that serve the universal needs and consumers have very low switching cost. The liberalization of global trade has increased the cost pressures on the organization. So when we talk about the local responsiveness, so it is about the product differentiation from one country to another country. The product and marketing messages needs to be customized based on the customer taste and preferences. We have to make sure that product is compatible with the available infrastructure and meets the traditions of the country. And host governments can put the demands which make it necessary for the companies to be more locally responsive. Depending on the pressure for cost reduction and pressure for locally responsiveness, companies can adopt one of the four strategies. First is the global standardization strategy, when the pressure for cost reduction is high and relatively less pressure for the locally responsiveness. So here the economy of scale and location is the key. Next one is the where the pressure for local responsiveness is high and relatively less pressure for the cost reduction, companies can adopt the localization or multi-domestic strategy. So customizing goods and services to match the consumer taste and preference. So value add supports higher pricing and local demand allows the economy of scale. When pressure for locally responsiveness as well as the cost reduction is high, companies can adopt the transnational strategy. So product design using many identical components so that it allows the economy of scale by centralized manufacturing and assembly plants in different markets that allow the localization. And the last is the international strategy when both pressure for local responsiveness as well as the cost reduction is low, taking products produced for the domestic market to the international market with local customization.